What's good with the YouTube? You already know this is Real Talk with Flacco. Also, Flacco from a convict's perspective. And what we're going to discuss today, man, we're going to be breaking down some of these prison organization cause and the contradictions, the implementations that have been enforced within some of these groups to elevate their people's standards, man, and trying to build morale and confidence and respect and social status, man. And let's first go into it, man. You know, the Norteño cause. You hear different concepts from people like conduct, awareness, unity, security, education, equality, respect. You know, all those things play a factor into it. It's all about the betterment of the people. Okay. That's what the whole objective within the Norteño collective, within that cause, that cosa, right? But the problem is this, is that you have all this stuff is man-made, being applied by individuals who don't always have the best interests of the overall collective at heart. You know, it's turned more into in the last 25 years, it's turned more into a monetary purpose. Those are like the main agendas. You know, as a young striving soldado, I was instilled with the beliefs that we used to fight for equal justice, that we stood against the system, that we stood against any type of opposition or foe that wanted to put stumbling blocks in our path, that we were the ones that were going to resist any type of aggression. That's what I believed in. You know, at that time, we were low on numbers on yards. I've been on yards where I was the only homeboy that touched down on the yard and had to go handle my business. I've been on tiers in the oil where there's 46 cells, 44 of them are Sureños and 2 of them are Gavachos. And I'm in the last cell getting attacked every time I have to go to the shower or movement. Those are the struggles that we used to face, right? And nowadays, things have kind of changed. You know, there's no more fire that you have in these individuals. There's no more a worthy cause, which was the overall concept. Now you got individuals that are more focused on generating money, contributing negatively to your community. If you're about the gente, period, and you try to instill discipline, respect, and morals when you get in there, and you have all these high standards, why are you not applying that out there in the streets? You know, time and time again, as things change within all these organizations, you have more involvement from lower level members. Back in the days, right, especially in San Jose, Salinas, and all those areas, the carnales within the O would take care of their own business. They would do their own jacks, their own killings, and they wouldn't really involve any Norteños or Northerners in their business. It was the very select few Nuestra Raza members that were able to be put on probation and function with a regiment. So now you have everybody that's involved. And the main thing that they're doing right now, right? If you're about the betterment of your gente, you have to focus on your community too. The drugs that are being pushed by these organizations out there in these streets are destroying families. They're destroying raza, period. It's affecting the community. It's causing more crime, more people going to prison. You got kids being taken away from their mothers, dads being put in prison, right? How are you benefiting your gente by pushing dope in your own fucking community? That's the question I want to raise. Whereas before, you know, the O had a little bit different agenda. They pushed their drugs here and there, but they were more about taxing the dope dealers back then, taxing the pimps back then, the prostitutes, and stores and all those little things, man. But now they've got their hands involved in everything. You know, I remember when I stepped out and I finally plugged in with the regiment commander. I was a young striving soldado. And I was asked, do you know any gente that use dope? And I said, I don't believe in selling my gente dope. I'm all about the betterment of our people. I was told by this guy, now, if you do get rid of this dope, you are benefiting the people. So that's the agenda. That's the contradiction. You know, you can have such high standards in there about respect and having all this education, roll up your matches, do these essays and all that. Yet the homeboys hit the street running. They're not contributing anything positive to the community. They're not trying to help young individuals stay out of gangs and drugs and all that. All they're doing out there is contributing back into it. You know, and I've said this time and time again, right? If the dope that gets pushed out there, people lose their lives, especially with this fentanyl, right? Meth addiction, it gets certain individuals where they go cuckoo, you know, and they start doing weird things to people or weird things to kids. These are the things that maybe you don't have your hand involved in, but if you're pushing dope in the community, you're just as much fucking accountable for that shit. And that's the fucking reality. If you care about your gente, then you want to raise their standards up. And that's where the contradiction comes from these cause. Now, when I look at the Norteño cause and everything, speaking on that, it sounds beautiful on the surface. It sounds positive. It sounds righteous. There's nothing bad in the teachings, but it's the application of it. The deceitful intentions by others who don't fall under this vendetta. This was made to be used as a driving force for young Northerners and Norteños. The carnales have their own little implementation, which is organization mob biz. Those are facts. If it generates money, if it's a venture, we're going to get involved. And that's all there is to it. So you see the contradiction? You have homeboys, right? I used to trip on this, right? You see certain homeboys that have missing teeth and stuff like that. They get to prison, get to the 6 yard. They're holding an authority position. They're having all this discipline. They hit the streets running. Within a fucking week, they're already fucking back on that pipe or back on that ere. Straight up. So we really need to sit there, whether you're active or inactive, I don't care, bro. I don't judge anybody. It's about what you're doing today. What are you doing to help your gente? You know what I mean? Are you helping contribute to your community by selling dope, by pushing it out there in the streets to where bad things are happening, where people are ODing? Like I said, kids are being put in CPS care. Kids are being touched by unwavering adults that shouldn't even be in the household because their mom's so fucking doped out they can't even see the shit. These are the type of shits that happen. So how are we benefiting our gente? We're contributing, right, to the destruction of it. This is where people need to wake up. Selling dope and pushing the product, that's not about the cause. It does not help the gente. Because eventually most of these soldados are going to end up using while they're fucking out there pushing for the regiment. And you're on borrowed time. How many indictments have happened out there, right? Where people come out there to function. They're out there for 3 to 6 months. They start getting the plug on the dope. They start smoking the dope. Next thing you know, they're looking at a bunch of time. Everybody's expendable. If people really care about the raza and about the betterment of the gente, you need to sit there and take a step back and look at the realities of this. How are we helping our people? How? We're not. It's all a mirage, and people need to sit there and look at that, man. We need people to go to school, get an education, what I'm saying? Get jobs, get trades, and give homeboys opportunities when they get out. Because being in prison is a very volatile environment. Shit happens. You don't always have the opportunity to earn skills. That's how you benefit your gente. That's how you help them. Not all this other shit. Fucking, okay, here's a sack. You want to work with the regiment? Because otherwise you're only thinking about yourself. Because nobody's going to see the value of what you're producing or what you contributed. All you're going to see is the spoils of a whole bunch of gente's blood that fucking thought they were part of something. And next you know, they're looking at 18, 20 years and they were only out there for 3 months making fucking very minimal money. And then nobody's going to take care of them. Who's going to take care of them? Their fucking families. So don't get me wrong. Within the Norteño movement, the principles of the cause are good things. They sound good. It's the application of them. It's how they are applied. They're not applied for righteous intentions. You could take certain things. It's like doing the 12 steps, right? You don't have to be an alcoholic or a drug addict to look at the 12 steps and see how much value it has. The spiritual solution. This is the same thing with some of the klecha. But too often or not, people have that tunnel vision. You know what I mean? I want the support of the big homies. I want to be recognized. I want to be a part of this. What are you being a part of? Destroying our community? That's a problem I started to have later on in life, man, that the things that I thought I committed myself for. I get it's the cost of doing business. My whole mindset changed. When I was a young soldado, I was all about standing up against the system. I was all about education. I was all about striving for equality. And it changed as soon as I got involved in my business. And I seen the different discrepancies between the two. The O's over here has nothing to do with the Norteños over here. The Norteños over here, this is what you're taught. This is your focal point. This is your cause. This is what you strive for. You know what? We'll be out there when you get out. You know what I'm saying? And that's how a lot of these other organizations work too. You know what I mean? As we know, the fellas down south, they have a whole different structure. They allow certain individuals to represent a certain colonia or territory or a hood where they communicate. They do their taxation. They get their money on. And it works down there. You know what I mean? They don't try to deny that they have a cause. Their cause is about making money, and they're upfront about it. Either you accept it or you don't. As we discussed before, some hoods stood away from it. Now, all these other organizations, as far as like the AB, not much is known about their functions, but what they've been doing is they've been plugging in to smaller cliques. See, the white boys are kind of spread out. So each geographical location will have certain individuals. Like you'll have Fame out there in Coco County. You used to have Wolfpack that was out there in Butte County and San Joaquin County. You have the P9s down south. You have the NLR. You have the Warrior Skinheads. And they have the Fresniks. And what the AB was doing that was smart was they were recruiting individuals as undercover AB members from these select groups. Therefore, they had their leadership in everywhere they wanted it. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore they could control that and have money coming in. But they don't really have a concept as far as a cause. You know what I mean? Their thing is that they just want to be able to do whatever they want to do on the yard without threat like anybody else. But I don't really see too many of them, striving to have certain bylaw structures or this and that, unless you get to the Aryan Brotherhood hierarchy. Then things start to change if you're made a brand member, And as far as with the Africanos, their cause, a lot of them had the support of our cause. We had a similar cause, which was against the system, the injustices. That was the one thing that we used to always stress at all times, to the left, That means that everything in the system ain't right. So we're going to do everything to the left. It was about pushing paperwork. It was about standing up against the man. Because a lot of times, man, Africanos and even Norteños would suffer a lot of abuses or stage situations where they were outnumbered or put in a bad position or had nothing coming just based upon their affiliations, So that was where the Africanos cause started. But what happened with that, man, is you started to have too many splinter groups and you had too many bumping heads. The BGF lost control basically when they had the BGF split. The Crips started to uprise. You had the Vanguard. You had the, of course, the Damus, the Crips, which had also other factions. Therefore, they could not be united. There was no unity. And see, some of the principles that they were fighting for, were good qualities. But you have to have everybody on the same page. You have to be unified, So therefore, it's a non-existent cause. It's only a cause that is applied to a select few that want to push it. And that's the problem, man, is you can get all these teachings and be taught this and that about your respective big homies and what you represent, right? But when you start to see mistruths, misapplication, betrayal, disloyalty, it causes dissension within the group. Therefore, you don't have a righteous cause because the individuals that are applying it are being put in position to guide and lead people are using it for their own benefit. I have issues with certain things, man, like that I did in my past. I moved a lot of dope, a lot of product out there. And even though I didn't put it in certain individuals' hands, I do not know the everlasting effects that I may have had on other people's lives. And that's something that we have to consider. If we really care about the betterment of our gente, we're going to focus on that. We're going to push that line. We're not going to put no limitations. We're going to change. See, advancement demands change. And that's part of the bylaw format right there. But how often is that really being applied? Because all these organizations are doing the same thing. They're repeating the same cycle. And what do you call that? Insanity. Because you're expecting a different result, right? Or you just don't care about your gente. You know that they're expendable. And I like to believe that there's a lot of carnales and bros that want to push that righteous agenda. The cause needs to be brought back in the righteous form. The cause only existed behind the walls where you took care of her to better yourself and become a better man. Therefore, when you paroled, you can go out there and be a father. You could be out there and be a son. You could go out there and raise your family, get a good job. That's what the cause was supposed to be about. All the other expectations, like within the NF, those were if you were a committed member. You already knew what you had to do. You had to go out there and make your money. But everybody else now is getting involved. You know what I mean? In all these groups. Before, these groups used to work independently. Most of these groups, you have to be a made member to move on another made member. you know, and it has to be properly sanctioned. Now they're using people who've never even been to the pen to go do a fucking hit. What kind of shit is that? So they've exploited the gente, where the goals and aims have changed. You know, it used to be encouraged for you when you stepped out, whether you were in Pelican Bay or Corcoran, to go home and become a citizen or a civilian, is what they told you. Leave the prison walls behind you, right? But now they've changed that whole format. The template and blueprint has changed. Now people are going out there expecting to work with the regiment. They put an expectation on certain hoods. You have to contribute this much money a month. They made so much changes that none of it is benefiting the gente. None of it's contributing to a cause. The only cause you see is those cause of